This is part 2 in my series called Why I Left the Belly Community. In part 1, I disclosed to you my earliest experience with this odd fixation of mine, and ended with myself being found out by my mother and her laughing at me, and myself becoming utterly ashamed of ever watching these in the first place. So in this part, I will disclose what I did in order that I might not feel so ashamed, and we'll explore the dark path that it eventually led me down. So, this all, more or less, took place between the years 2012 till about 2016. And after my mother had laughed at me, and after, the Khan Academy thing had sort of transpired, I knew that I couldn't have anyone know about this new, I suppose, fascination of mine. And so I decided to start watching these videos in secret. Yes, I watched them out of the sight of my mother when she used to work at hospital maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and I was under the care of my father, who, if you do not know, was not as intrusive as mother. In fact, he was so earnest as to knock upon my door in order to attract my attention. So I knew that I was safe in that respect. And so I would spend the evenings after school watching, my usual string of videos, depending on what my tastes were back then, but also these belly videos. And I would watch people such as Chubby Love, BQ12125, Chubby Belly Toy, Branded Moss, Big Belly Girl of Sweden, that's another one. And I would even watch, this is how bad it got. I would even get my kicks, rather, if you want me to use that rather inexcusable idiom, from watching weight loss people, such as Less Weight Feels Great, who is no longer on this website, and by Belly. That's how weird I was. I would just watch these people, not for the sake of seeing themselves lose weight, but for the sake of seeing what they looked like before and seeing just how big they were. That's pretty bad, I must say so myself. And I would continue to watch these, and I would still be experiencing this joyful nausea, but would have no idea why. But I didn't question it, as I said at the time, and just continued watching this stuff. And this is the scary part. This is the worst. This isn't even the worst. This is just how horrible, how much worse I got. Just, if you're a part of this community, as I said, get out of it immediately, because this is how bad this. If you think that, it's a casual thing, I'm just watching these videos and it's my own personal thing. Really? Listen to my experience. Listen to what happened when I watched these videos and how they intruded themselves into my real life. Beware of what I'm about to say, because if you're just now starting out in this community, it's inevitable that these things will happen to you. I guarantee it. Anyhow, in my watching of these videos, I, at the time, I suppose, did not particularly like sleeping in my own bed. I have no idea why. Perhaps this is because I was very, very much afraid of the dark and, wanted always to sleep with my parents, and I did for a number of years. But also because there was an exceeding heap of stuff atop it most every day, and really I was very lazy and didn't really feel compelled to clean it or however. And so what I decided to do was sleep on the sofa, or rather the chaise in the living room, and would sleep on there very well. The only problem was, since I was 12 or 13 and was going to school, I needed to turn in early enough to where I'd be able to rise early enough in order that I might not be able to miss the bell and be able to prepare myself in time or however. So, my parents would usually be the type who would stay up until, I don't know, around 10 or so and, be safely in bed by 10:30. And obviously, because I was in the main room, I needed them to be out of it so I could get to sleep. And so, they would comply, much to their evident dislike. And so I would sleep in this chaise. And at the time, I was in middle school, or rather secondary school, the first few years of secondary school. And as I said, this is how bad it's going to be for you if you are part of this community. In my, I suppose, daily conquest, I would encounter numerous persons, all women, who were of, I suppose, the bigger body type. I have actually also, as you know, I am on the autism spectrum, and throughout all of my school years, all 18 of my formal education, I had, not 18, 12 years of my formal education, or 13 years, goodness gracious, of my formal education, I had aside me various independent facilitators. I had one who I had very much respected back in primary school, but she had been signed on to another student, and so I had to be placed with another, and I really didn't like her at all, mainly because she wasn't the one who I so liked, which is really kind of a very stupid thing to do. I should have respected her more, but bottom line, she had something of a potbelly on her. And this kind of allured me just a bit, especially when she would wear clothing that either A, were particularly tight upon her person, or B, sort of gave one a glimpse of her navel. She was one of the people that I would run into. There was another person I ran into who was, I suppose, she patrolled the campus just to look after students and such, and say, I suppose you'd call her a proctor. I believe that's the proper term, however. And she wasn't quite hot-bellied or anything like that. She was more or less, she had a proper spare tire about her and such. And, we'd get on just fine and such and all that. And I think she even substituted for my one IF at one point. And then there was this other IF for a completely different student who, I kid you not, every day of the school year looked as though she were perpetually with child. These types of people I ran into. And it was these types of people about which I dreamed. Yes, I dreamed about these women. I would dream horrible scenarios in which I was either at the beach with them and rubbing, I don't know, sunscreen and such upon not only the whole extent of their bodies, but particularly upon their stomachs. And also this other type of dream in which I suppose I was being hunted down by this other IF who was actually a very rancorous character and was by no stretch big at all. She was actually quite frail. And I decided to take refuge inside of their own stomachs. Filthy dreams, awful dreams I've had. And you want to know what's even more awful? I wanted to get to bed soon enough, and I wanted my parents to leave the room soon enough that I would continue to have these dreams. It was disgusting. It was absolutely abhorrent. And I liked this. You probably can't sense this. You obviously can't see me, but you can probably sense by the way I'm speaking. But I'm shaking right now, just recollecting these dreams. It's perfectly awful. But that's not the worst of it. I was so utterly taken over by this fascination of mine that I wanted to incorporate this in my everyday life. I would emulate myself being exceedingly bloated with the aid of, I suppose, ball or something up my shirt, though to be honest, it wasn't very convincing at all. And would even get my cousin, yes, my cousin, to do this. And he would go along with it, just to appease me. This was the cousin that I tried to placate in trying to emulate his style of liking video games and such and all that. And, oh Lord, oh Lord, I'm so sorry for recalling this at all, but it need be recalled because, as I say, this is how bad it is. This is one reason why any of you ought to desist from this awful community. It got to the point where this particular cousin at the time was a tad bit corpulent, I suppose. Corpulent, yeah, that's the proper way to say it, because, you know, it wasn't particularly rotund or anything, but I suppose he had a proper stomach on him. I had him comply with instructions that I devised for the sake of a comedic video. I forced him to lift up his shirt, and for myself to rub his stomach. All for the sake, I said at the time, for a comedic video. This is how wicked I was back then. Yes, this bordered on incest. This is how bad, I keep saying bad, but this is just how iniquitous these people are. And I'm just mortified at how I thought this at once to be sensible and okay. It just boggles the mind. I'm beguiled at what I used to do back then. It's amazing. No, it's not amazing. It's actually very, very wicked indeed. But it's just amazing that I did this. Horrible. Utterly horrible. And I even tried to get some of my friends to not partake, but to actually look at some of these videos and try to get them, to convert them rather. Luckily, they didn't. I am so thankful that they did not. But I'm sure with enough coaxing, no, not even with enough coaxing. One of these friends in particular was Mario Bros 2488. I've talked about him many times before. I don't even know. He's no longer on YouTube, but he may see this. I tried to convert him to this mad sort of, God, I get so inarticulate when I think about this, but I try to convert him into this mad way of thinking. And we, as you know, we used to shoot videos together. Most of these videos are no longer, actually, pardon me, virtually all of these videos are no longer up. And I don't think he even has a channel any longer. But we used to shoot videos with plush toys and such and make as if, you know, they were like living and such and did all these skits and everything. I had the goal. No, I didn't have the goal. I had the gumption and the temerity to have in one of these videos, which, to be honest, I don't think he ever even posted, Woody from Toy Story watching Newbie 924's 2 stuffed full videos and have him adulate it. Leave now. I beg of you, I pray that you leave this community now. That's how bad, that's how awful, that is how ignominious you will become if you continue to go beyond casual viewing of this. And I haven't even gone to the worst of it. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I might need to get back my composure here. I do have more things to discuss in this video. This is going to be about maybe a half hour long, but let me go ahead and get some water so I might be able to, I don't know, quench my thirst because my throat's getting a little dry here. And I am walking as I'm doing this. I'm the only one in the house at the moment, so I can feel free to roam about and tell you of all of these indignities. So, I continued watching these videos. And in order, as I said, in order to continue, that I might be able to have no one know about it, even though what I just admitted to you was completely contradictory, I found that the best time to watch them was at night when everyone else was fast asleep. So I would sit up very late at night, sometimes until 4 in the morning, regaling myself with countless videos of this variety. God, I'm sorry. It's just... And as I said, this would just... I kept doing this for a number of years, from when I was 13 up until I was about 16. I'll get into that later. But this is the main point of this video right here. I will tell you exactly the main point of this video right here. I know I rambled quite a bit, but I just wanted to tell you just how wicked and really just dastardly these people can be, because I was one of them. Believe you me, I was. I'm going to keep repeating that over again. I was one of these people. God, this gets me so worked up talking about this. I'm so sorry. I feel like my heart's going to explode. But, as you know, I was still very much unsure why it was I even thought about watching these videos, these utterly sinful videos, until I'd experienced many follies with women in my life. Now, I've told on this channel my stories with my unsuccessful attempts at romance. Obviously, I told you about the Mandalay Queen, the one who nearly made me hang myself with pipe cleaners. I told you about Earth Angel, the one who wanted actually to be my missus, but evidently also wanted to have her sodomite friend involved in my affairs. A very unusual situation indeed. And I also told you, this was obviously later on, but I told you in a video that's now unlisted about the one girl that caused me to make a whole series of videos which I had to delete completely off this channel. And you all know who I'm talking about. But there were other women before that, other less significant women. There was one who had particularly ample bosom, who I presume had liked me. There was a rather fetching Mexican lady who spoke limited English and who I tried to romance. And I believe, I can't remember who else there was, but there are a couple others. But it should be noted that all of these women were relatively modestly proportioned. They were fairly thin, except maybe for the Earth Angel. She was just a little bit on the chunky side, but still, she was average, shall I say. And as I said, this was right around the time of my falling out with this Earth Angel girl that this happened. But I continued watching these videos late at night. On the weekends, I guess, because obviously I could stay up as late as I wanted to on weekends. Pardon me again. God, this subject gives me heartburn to recall all this. It's just mad. As I said, I'm mystified at how involved I used to be with all this. And you'll see from these future installments, just how involved I was. It's just incredible. But one night, when I was 16, I was patrolling, as I said, continuing to patrol YouTube. And stumbled across this one user by the name of Cassie B. If you do not know who Cassie B is, essentially she makes her living, well, doesn't make her living, I don't know if she gets paid for this bloody thing or not. For the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. But she basically, her videos mainly have to do with herself blowing herself up with liquids and either sloshing about her turgid stomach or having a showcase of her abdomen making all sorts of noises that are the resultant side effects thereof without the aid of a microphone. That's how loud her stomach was. To give you an idea, there was, and there still is, though, to be honest, once Jesus Christ comes back and has his 1,000-year reign, all of this will be wiped wholly from the earth. There is this type of video in which people take microphones and put it up to their stomach, and you hear all the various noises. I found those to be rather annoying because it didn't seem very natural to me. But Cassie B's videos were among a select few that I found to be particularly exceptional. Didn't say exceptional to this rubbish. It's just mad. But anyhow, this one night, I stumbled upon this one video. I still remember the name of the video. It's called After Lunch Chug. And she doesn't show her face in any of these videos, as most of these women do not show their faces in any of these videos, and for good reason. Because they know that this is a very wicked thing indeed. They do. And this video no longer exists, but I still remember the events of it. And this very video had her sat in her bathroom after, I suppose, having consumed mass quantities, if you want to quote the film The Coneheads, of liquid. And her stomach was a veritable water balloon. And I suppose as she was doing this, at intervals, it started to make gurgling noises. And this is the truly horrifying part of it all. As soon as both the sloshings and the gurglings became in sync with one another, I experienced a violent convulsion of the nether regions and ran over to my own bathroom. And I hope that you will all forgive me for using this utterly vulgar idiom. I really do. But there's no other way that I could possibly express what exactly happened to me upon the viewing of that video. But Cassie B made me come in my pants. Yes. That was the very first instance in which I ejaculated. This so horrified me that next day at school, I could swear that I felt that my nethers were alive again, and had to check for myself in the school's bathroom to see if they were. Fortunately, they weren't. But my Lord, that was indeed something. And that was the day that I realized why it was that I found these videos so fascinating. These things arouse me sexually, and even though this whole deliquescent expenditure had me so utterly horrified, I wanted to experience it again and again and again. And this next video will be just how I went about experiencing it again and again and again. That was the second installment of this very unusual series of videos. I hope you enjoyed this, or didn't, and I hope that you just know now just how unsavory and just how utterly disgusting these peoples are. And I do hope that you, if you are a part of this community, detach yourself from it. Get saved. Find the Lord Jesus Christ. And you'll be all the better for it. But that was part 2? Yeah, part 2 of this series. I'm going to, I don't know, maybe have a day's worth of a break, maybe even a few days worth of a break from this, because to recall all that was just insanity. And we'll see you here in the next installment. Thank you. God bless.